Welcome back to our Neuro Finance Masterclass. Today, we're diving into a strategy that could fundamentally change how you look at investing. We're talking about shifting away from the stressful guessing game and onto a calm, systematic path to building wealth. We are, quite literally, going to learn how to buy the world. This quote, it's really the whole story today. Just think about it. Imagine letting go of all that pressure to find the next big thing, the next Amazon before it takes off. That's the mindset we're exploring. We're moving from high-stakes gambling to a serene, systematic way to grow your money. Let's get into it. So why is this shift so important? Well, we all love the stories, right? The person who bought one stock at the perfect time and became an overnight millionaire. But let's be honest, for every one of those winning lottery tickets, there are thousands of stories of people who lost big. Picking individual stocks is a game that even the pros on Wall Street have a hard time winning consistently. And this is where the real cost shows up, the mental and emotional toll. When you pin your entire financial future on the fate of just one company, it becomes a recipe for anxiety. Every bit of bad news, every market dip, it feels like a personal crisis. You get that jolt of cortisol. Our goal here is to trade that constant stress for genuine stability. Okay, this slide lays it out perfectly. You've got two very different paths. On one side, the single stock is a high-stakes winner-take-all gamble. On the other side, the index. Here, you're not just betting on one player, you're investing in the entire system. And that is a much more diversified and, crucially, a much less stressful way to go. So how do we actually invest in the whole system? Well, we use a truly brilliant financial innovation, a real game changer for the average person. It's called the index fund. And this is the simple, powerful tool that lets us buy that entire haystack. Let's break this down. Just think of an index fund as a big shopping basket, but instead of groceries, it's filled with stocks. When you buy just one share of that fund, you're instantly buying a tiny little piece of every single company in that basket. It is powerful, instant diversification with a single click. And this chart really shows you the power of that. Yeah, you own the giants like Apple and Microsoft, but you also own hundreds of other successful companies right alongside them. So what happens if one of them fails? It's just a minor blip in your portfolio, not a total catastrophe. That is the key to reducing investment stress, so you can actually sleep well at night. All right, now let's get specific and talk about the most famous and powerful index in the entire world, the S&P 500. If you want to invest in the titans, the absolute champions of the American economy, this is where you start. So what exactly is the S&P 500? Well, it's basically a curated list of the 500 largest, most profitable public companies in the United States. We're talking about the household names that really define our economy. When you invest in this index, you're not just buying stocks, you're making a direct bet on the long-term growth and resilience of the American economy as a whole. But here's where it gets really brilliant. The true genius of the S&P 500 is how dynamic it is. It's not some static list of companies that was carved in stone decades ago. No, it's a living, breathing, self-correcting system that makes sure you're always invested in the top performers automatically. Here's how this self-cleansing machine works. If a company starts to struggle and it no longer meets the strict criteria, it gets kicked out. Simple as that. Then it's immediately replaced by a new, rising star that's on its way up. This whole process happens behind the scenes, ensuring your investment is always concentrated in the strongest players in the market, and you don't have to lift a finger. Okay, so that's the theory. Pretty powerful stuff, right? But now it's time to turn this knowledge into practice. This is the neuro fitness part of our masterclass, transforming this idea into a confident, simple, and actionable strategy. So here is your simple cognitive task. Sometime today, open up whatever financial app you use and just search for these ticker symbols. A ticker is basically the stock market's nickname for a fund. Look up VOO or SPY. Both of these are hugely popular funds that track the S&P 500. Now, pull up the chart and set the time frame to the last 10 years. Just look at it. Notice that overall, steady, relentless upward climb. That is what long-term diversified investing looks like. And this really brings us to the core takeaway. Successful, long-term wealth building isn't about being a stock-picking genius. It's not about trying to predict the future. It's about having the discipline to simply own the system itself, and then letting that system do the heavy lifting for you over time. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. After everything we've talked about, the anxiety of picking one single stock versus the automated, self-cleansing power of owning them all, could it be that the simplest investing strategy is also the most powerful one? Something to think about as you continue on your journey.